I woke up and opened my eyes to being carried like a handbag by the most feared woman in the world. At first, I thought I was dreaming. That made sense, because no normal person opens their eyes after death and sees a woman this cold and beautiful. She walked through a huge stone hallway while servants bowed so low, their foreheads almost kissed the floor. And me? I was tucked under her arm like a fluffy pillow. I tried to speak, but all that came out was a tiny, offended meow. The woman stopped walking and her red eyes lowered to me. For one long second, we stared at each other. Then she lifted me with both hands and said, "You are awake." Her voice was cold, calm, and scary enough to make a grown knight rethink his whole career. I tried to say, "Excuse me. Where am I? Why am I a cat? And why do you look like the final boss of a fantasy game?" What came out was another meow. The woman's face softened by exactly 1%. That was apparently her version of smiling. "You are not afraid of me," she said. "Lady, I was very afraid. I just did not have the face muscles to show it." She held me against her chest and kept walking. Her armor was cold, but her hand was gentle on my back. That part confused me. People who looked like walking disasters were not supposed to pet cats like lonely grandmothers. A pair of guards opened a giant black door. Beyond it was a throne room big enough to park an army inside. Black banners hung from the ceiling. Blue fire burned in iron lamps. At the far end stood a throne made of dark stone, and around it waited a group of demons who looked like they had all practiced glaring in the mirror. One had horns like a bull. One had wings like a bat. One had a snake tail. One looked almost human, except he possessed a fake smile. The fake smile one step forward. "Your Majesty, you returned earlier than expected." So, Crown Lady was royalty. Great. I had died from office politics and reincarnated into actual politics. The woman sat on the throne with me in her lap. "I found him near the western gate," she said. The bullhorn demon frowned. A stray cat entered the demon palace. The winged demon crossed his arms. Impossible. The barrier would burn any normal animal. The snake-tailed woman leaned closer and smiled. "Maybe it is a spy." I froze. "No. Absolutely not. I have been alive in this body for maybe 5 minutes. I was not prepared for spy accusations. I had no resume, no skills, and no pants." The fake smile demon chuckled softly. "A spy? This little thing? Lady Mara? You give the Holy Kingdom too much credit." His tone sounded kind, but his eyes did not. The demon queen looked down at me. "Then we shall keep him." Everyone in the throne room went silent. The bullhorn demon looked like someone had punched him. "Your Majesty," he said carefully with respect, "we are preparing for war. A pet may not be the best use of your attention." The queen stroked my head once. "The war council starts in 1 hour. If my generals can be distracted by a cat, then perhaps the cat should lead the army." I almost laughed. A few demons lowered their heads fast, pretending they had not heard that insult. The fake smile demon's mouth twitched. That was when I learned the woman's name. Cornelia Nocturne, the Demon Queen. Enemy of the Holy Kingdom. Final boss of every bedtime story told to human children. And for some reason, my new owner. Lucky me. Cornelia carried me away from the throne room and into a private chamber behind it. The room was large but strangely empty. There was a bed, a desk, shelves of documents, a fireplace, and a small table with untouched food. She placed me on the desk. I stood there on 4 tiny paws, trying not to panic. My body felt light and quick. My tail moved without permission. My ears turned toward every sound. It was all very rude. Cornelia sat down and removed her crown. The moment it left her head, her shoulders dropped. Not a lot, but just enough. She looked tired. She picked up a report from the desk. "The western border lost 2 supply wagons," she said quietly. I stared at her. Was she talking to me? Apparently, yes. "The southern nobles are delaying grain shipments again. The generals want to attack through Raven-Cut Canyon, which is exactly where an idiot would place an ambush." She glanced at me. "You understand none of this, of course." I meowed. "Correction, lady. I understood all of it, and your generals sounded like they shared one brain cell and kept losing it." Cornelia leaned back in her chair. "For one night, I wanted something in this palace that did not lie to me." Her voice was softer now. My chest felt strange. I had heard that tone before. Cornelia reached for the cold food on the table, then stopped. She had not eaten. Of course she had not. Important people in stories always forgot to eat. I jumped off the desk. Or at least, I tried. My tiny cat body moved faster than expected. I landed on the floor, slipped, and bumped into the table leg. Very graceful. Very legendary. Cornelia blinked. I shook it off and climbed onto the chair beside the food. There was a plate of roasted fish. It smelled so good my new cat brain nearly shut down. I was hungry. Very hungry. But I had priorities. I shoved the plate with my head until it scraped across the table toward her. Cornelia watched me in silence. I pushed again. The plate moved another inch. Then I sat down and stared at her. "Eat. Woman." I did not survive reincarnation to watch my food source collapse. A quiet sound escaped her. At first, I thought she was coughing. Then I realized the demon queen had laughed. It was small, almost nothing, but it was real. "You are a demanding little creature." "Yes, and you were welcome." She picked up the fork and took one bite. Only one. Then she cut a small piece of fish and placed it before me. I forgot all my dignity and attacked it. "Listen, I had died after eating vending machine crackers for dinner. If fate wanted to repay me with demon palace fish, I was not going to act proud. By the time the war council began, I was full, sleepy, and almost willing to forgive the universe. Then the idiots arrived. Cornelia returned to the throne room with me sitting on her shoulder. I did not know cats could sit on shoulders, but my body did it like I had been born judging people from above. Around the war table stood the same demons from before, plus several more armored commanders. A large map covered the table. Red stones marked demon forces. White stones marked human forces. Most of the white stones gathered near the western border. The bullhorn general slammed his fist on the table. We should strike first through Ravencut Canyon. If we crush their center, the Holy Army will scatter. I stared at him. No, absolutely not. Even as a cat, I could see the problem. The canyon was narrow, with cliffs on both sides. A child with a bucket of rocks could turn it into a death trap. An army marching through there would get cooked like dumplings. Cornelia's face stayed calm. Duke Fake Smile, whose name I now knew was Duke Varen, tapped the map with one pale finger. I agree with General Drogon. The Holy Army believes your majesty has become cautious. A direct strike will surprise them. I looked at Varen. His voice was smooth. Too smooth. Cornelia said nothing. That worried me. She already knew the canyon was dangerous. She had said so in her room. But here, surrounded by nobles and generals, she was letting them talk. Why? Then I noticed it. On the map, Varen's finger rested near the canyon, but his eyes kept drifting toward a small side road marked with a black line. He was not pushing the canyon attack because he thought it would work. He was pushing it because he wanted the main army gone. The supply camp would be left weak. And if the Holy Kingdom knew that, they could burn the supplies while the demon army marched into a trap. Oh, this guy was not just annoying. He was a traitor. My fur rose. Cornelia looked at me from the corner of her eye. I had no way to explain. I could not say, Your Majesty, the pale man with the discount villain's smile is selling you out. So I did the only thing I could. I jumped onto the war table. Several demons gasped like I had slapped their ancestors. General Drogon barked, Get that animal off the map. Rude. I walked straight across the little red stones, stepped over a mountain range, and sat my fluffy black body directly on Ravencut Canyon. Then I stared at Cornelia. The room went silent. Duke Varen laughed softly. How charming. Even the cat seems fond of the canyon plan. I slowly turned my head toward him. Then I pushed one white stone off the map. It rolled across the table and fell to the floor. Everyone stared. Cornelia's eyes narrowed. Good. Smart queen. She leaned forward. Move the scout markers to the side road. The snake-tailed woman, Lady Mara, blinked. Your Majesty, do it. A servant rushed to adjust the markers. Cornelia looked at the map for a long moment. Then she said, Send shadow scouts to the side road tonight. If there is movement there, we abandon the canyon plan. Duke Varen bowed. Wise as always, Your Majesty. Liar. The meeting ended soon after, mostly because everyone was now too busy pretending they had not almost voted for a disaster. Cornelia carried me back to her chamber. The door closed behind us. She placed me on her desk and stared at me. I stared back. You noticed the supply road, she said. I gave a tiny meow. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, Interesting. That word should not have scared me, but it did. For the next 2 days, I learned palace life. First, demons had terrible sleeping schedules. They moved around at all hours like nobody had invented bedtime. Second, demon servants were scared of everything, including me. Third, Cornelia worked too much. She woke before sunrise. She trained with a sword. She judged court disputes. She ate half a meal if bullied by a cat. Then she stayed awake reading until the candles burned low. The only good part was that nobody expected anything from me. I could nap on warm stones, steal fish, knock over ink bottles, and glare at nobles for sport. But peace never lasts in these stories. On the third night, Cornelia held a banquet. Not a fun banquet, a political one, which meant everyone wore expensive clothes, smiled with their teeth, and secretly hated each other. Human envoys had arrived under a peace flag. They claimed the Holy Kingdom wanted to discuss a prisoner exchange. Cornelia sat at the head table. I sat beside her plate, because I had learned that proximity to power also meant proximity to fish. Across from her sat the human envoy, a thin man with golden hair and soft hands. His name was Sir Edric. He smiled too much. Beside him stood a priest in white robes. The priest's eyes kept moving. His eyes went from the door, the guard, the cup, and the queen, and then back to the cup again. My ears twitched. There it was. The servant pouring wine for Cornelia had hands that shook just a little. Not enough for most people to notice, but cats noticed everything. The servant placed the silver cup near Cornelia's right hand and lowered his head. The priest stopped moving his eyes. Sir Edric smiled wider. So that was the game. Peace talks, my furry backside. They were here to poison her. I looked at the cup, then at Cornelia. She was listening to Edric talk about border mercy and mutual respect. His voice was so sweet, I wanted to cough up a hairball on his shoes. Cornelia reached for the cup. No time. I launched myself across the table. Someone shouted. My paws hit the cloth. Plates jumped. A bowl tipped. I slid between roasted vegetables and a golden candle stand, then slammed my whole tiny body into the wine cup. The cup flew sideways. Poisoned wine splashed across Duke Varen's sleeve. The silver fabric hissed. A black hole burned through it. For 1 perfect second, nobody moved. Then the banquet exploded. Guards drew swords. Nobles screamed. Someone dropped a chicken leg. General Drogon flipped the table so hard the desserts became weapons. Cornelia stood slowly. Her red eyes moved from the smoking wine to the human envoy. Sir Edric had gone pale. The priest took 1 step back. Bad choice. Cornelia lifted 1 hand. Dark chains burst from the floor and wrapped around the priest's arms, legs, and throat. He hit the ground with a strangled cry. The servant who poured the wine tried to run. I tripped him. Yes, with my body. No, it was not dignified. He stumbled over me, crashed face first into the floor, and was instantly pinned by 2 guards. Cornelia did not raise her voice. Search them. The guards tore through the priest's robes and found a tiny glass vial hidden near his belt. Lady Mara sniffed it, then recoiled. Saints rot, she said. A poison made to kill demons slowly. The room went cold. Cornelia looked at Sir Edric. You came under a peace flag. Edric swallowed. Your Majesty. I knew nothing of this. The priest on the floor gasped. The holy light will cleanse your evil reign. Wow. Confessing immediately. Very professional. Cornelia walked down from the high seat. Each step made the room quieter. She stopped before the priest. You tried to murder me at my own table. The priest smiled. You are a monster. Cornelia's face showed nothing, but I saw her hand tighten. Something in me snapped. I jumped onto the fallen table, walked through spilled sauce, and stopped in front of the priest's face. He glared at me. I lifted one paw and slapped him across the nose. The room froze again. Then someone laughed. It was small at first. Then another demon laughed. Then General Drogon threw his head back and roared like thunder. The priest's face turned red with shame. Excellent. Maybe I could not speak, but I could still support public humiliation. Cornelia looked down at me. This time her mouth really did curve. Only a little, but I saw it. Take them to the lower cells, she ordered. The peace talks are over. As guards dragged the priest and servant away, Sir Edric trembled so hard his chair shook. Cornelia turned to him. You will return to your prince with a message. Edric nodded quickly. Tell Prince Cedric that if he sends assassins again, I will return them in boxes. Edric looked like he might faint. Fair enough. It was a strong message. The humans were removed from the hall. The demon nobles whispered among themselves. Some looked angry. Some looked scared. Duke Varon looked at me, only for a second, but that second told me everything. He was not surprised by the poison. He was surprised I had stopped it. Oh, you pale snake. So he knew. That night, Cornelia brought me back to her chamber in silence. She washed the sauce off my paws herself. I allowed it because I was generous and also because she had thumbs. You saved my life, she said. I meowed. Yes. Please remember that during future fish distribution. She dried my fur with a towel. You are not normal. I went still. Her fingers paused behind my ears. I do not know what you are yet, she said quietly. But you are mine now. That sounded threatening. It also sounded lonely. I looked up at her. For some reason, I did not hate it. A knock came at the door. Cornelia's face became cold again. Enter. Lady Mara stepped inside and bowed. Your Majesty, the Shadow Scouts have returned. Cornelia stood. And? Mara's eyes moved to me, then back to the Queen. The cat was right. I sat up straighter. Obviously. Mara continued. The Holy Army has hidden troops near the side road, enough to strike the supply camp if our main force enters Ravencut Canyon. Cornelia's expression did not change, but the room seemed to grow darker. Any sign of who lead the route? Mara hesitated. That hesitation was enough. Cornelia noticed too. Speak. Mara lowered her voice. One of our scouts saw a demon messenger leaving the side road before sunrise. He carried a seal from Duke Varon's house. Finally, the fake smile traitor had finally slipped. Cornelia was silent. Then she looked at me. I looked back. We both knew what this meant. The poison was only the opening move. The canyon trap was still waiting. And Duke Varon, one of the highest nobles in the demon kingdom, was working with the humans. Cornelia reached for her sword. But before she could speak, the window behind us shattered inward. A black arrow shot through the room. It flew straight toward Cornelia's heart. And this time, I was too far away to stop it. And for one terrible second, nobody moved. It was too fast. The arrow cut through the candlelight like a piece of night itself. The air around it twisted, and the silver tip burned with a sick green glow. My body moved before my brain finished panicking. I leapt from the desk. I did not reach the arrow. Of course I did not. I was a cat, not a flying sword. But my claws caught the edge of Cornelia's cloak. The cloak pulled tight. Cornelia's shoulder shifted half an inch. That half inch saved her life. The arrow missed her heart and buried itself deep in her left shoulder. The impact threw her backward into the wall. Lady Mara shouted, Your Majesty. The room exploded into motion. Guards rushed in. Cornelia slid down the wall, one hand gripping the arrow. Black veins spread from the wound like ink dropped into water. That was not normal poison. That was nightmare poison. Cornelia's eyes stayed open, but her face turned pale. I landed on the floor badly and rolled twice. My whole body hurt. Good news, I had not died. Bad news, my owner was bleeding cursed smoke. Lady Mara reached for the wound, but Cornelia caught her wrist. Do not touch it. Mara froze. The curse spreads by contact, Cornelia said. Her voice was calm, but I could hear the strain under it. One guard ran toward the shattered window. Another shouted for healers. Cornelia forced herself to stand. Yes, stand. With a cursed arrow in her shoulder and black veins crawling up her neck, this woman still stood up. Honestly, I respected it. I also hated it. Sit down, woman. Your shoulder is smoking. Lady Mara looked furious. Whoever fired that arrow is still nearby. Cornelia's eyes sharpened. No. Everyone stared at her. She looked toward the shattered window. The shot came from inside the palace grounds. The room went colder than the curse. Inside. That meant the assassin had passed the barriers. That meant the assassin knew her room. That meant someone with high access had opened the path, which meant Duke Varon was either involved or the universe had a very ugly sense of humor. Cornelia took one step toward the door, then her knees almost gave out. I yowled. Not a cute meow. A full angry cat scream. Everyone looked at me. I ran to Cornelia's boots and clawed at the floor, then slapped her ankle with one paw. Sit down. Cornelia looked at me like I had personally insulted her throne. You are ordering me now? Yes. Obviously. Someone had to. because her entire court had the survival instinct of boiled cabbage. I slapped her boot again. Lady Mara pressed her lips together like she was trying not to smile. "Your Majesty," she said carefully. "The cat has a point." Cornelia gave her a dangerous look. Mara bowed her head. A very small point, but a point. For a moment, I thought Cornelia would ignore us both and march out to kill someone. Instead, she turned and sat on the edge of the bed. Finally, progress. The healers arrived moments later. 3 demons in dark robes rushed into the room carrying silver boxes and glass bottles. The oldest healer saw the wound and almost dropped his case. "Abyssbane," he whispered. Lady Mara's face changed. Even the guards looked afraid. I did not know what Abyssbane was, but I could guess. Anything with a name like that was not used for headaches. The old healer knelt beside Cornelia. "Your Majesty, this curse was made for royal demon blood. It eats magic from the inside. If we do not seal it soon, it will reach your core." "And if it reaches my core?" Cornelia asked. The healer swallowed. "You will live, but your power may break." The room fell silent. That was worse than death for a queen surrounded by traitors. Cornelia looked down at the black veins on her skin. "How long?" "Until sunrise if you rest. And if I do not?" The healer said nothing. That was answer enough. I jumped onto the bed beside her and stared into her face. "Do not even think about it." She looked back at me. "You are very bold for something that weighs less than my boot," I hissed. She sighed. "It was small, but I took the win." The healers began working. They could not pull the arrowhead out yet because the curse had wrapped around the wound. They poured blue liquid over it, drew symbols in silver dust, and chanted under their breath. The whole room smelled like metal, smoke, and burnt flowers. I hated every second of it. Not because of the smell, because Cornelia did not make a sound. Not once. Her fingers dug into the blanket until the fabric tore, but her face stayed cold. A servant watching from the doorway started crying. Lady Mara looked away. I sat beside Cornelia's hand. Then, because I was now a cat and apparently had cat instincts, I pressed my head against her fingers. Her hand moved slightly. She touched my fur. The black veins on her wrist slowed for half a breath. I felt something cold pass through my body. Then a strange window flashed in front of my eyes. Yes, a window, like a game screen. Name, Milo. Bond target, Cornelia Nocturne. Hidden bloodline, locked. Current skill, minor curse sense. I stared at the glowing words. So now there was a system. Of course there was. Because being a reincarnated cat in the Demon Queen's palace was not weird enough yet. The words vanished before I could study them more. But one thing was clear. When I touched Cornelia, the curse slowed. Not stopped, slowed. That meant I could help. It also meant I was probably not just a normal cat. Honestly, I had suspected that the moment I survived inside a demon barrier, understood war maps, and slapped a priest without fear. The healer frowned at Cornelia's wrist. "The curse is slowing." Lady Mara turned sharply. "Because of the seal?" "No," the healer said. "The seal is not settled yet." His eyes moved to me. Everyone stared. I froze. Not ideal. Cornelia's fingers closed gently around my tail before anyone could grab me. "He stays." The healer lowered his head fast. "Of course. Your Majesty." Good. I liked having legal protection. For the next hour, I stayed pressed against Cornelia's hand while the healers fought the curse. It hurt in a strange way, like ice water running under my skin. Every few minutes, the black veins on her body pulled back a little, then pushed forward again. A tug of war, with my tiny body as the rope. By the time the worst of the curse was sealed, I felt like a wet sock someone had thrown into a thunderstorm. Cornelia looked better, but not fine. The arrowhead was still inside her shoulder. The healers wrapped the wound in black cloth covered with silver runes. The old healer bowed low. "The curse is sealed for now, but the arrowhead must be removed within 3 days. We need moon ash, Saint Bone powder, and a living drop of royal demon blood." Lady Mara frowned. "Royal demon blood?" The healer looked at Cornelia. "Only yours can open the wound safely." Cornelia's mouth curved in a dry smile. "How convenient. The cure needs the patient to bleed more." The healer did not laugh. "Smart man." Cornelia waved him away. "Prepare what you need." The healers left. Most guards stayed outside. Lady Mara remained by the door, stiff with anger. "We should arrest Duke Varen now," she said. Cornelia leaned back against the pillows. "No." Mara looked shocked. "Your Majesty." The scout saw his seal. A seal can be stolen. But we both know it was him. "Yes," Cornelia said. "And he knows we know." I blinked. She was right. If she arrested him now, he would claim someone framed him. His allies would panic. The hidden spies would run. The Holy Kingdom would move early. But if she waited, we could catch them all. Annoyingly dangerous. Also smart. Mara clenched her fists. "Then what do we do?" Cornelia looked at the broken window. "We let him think I am weak." I did not like that sentence. Villains love that sentence. It always led to someone coughing blood in a dramatic hallway. Cornelia turned to Mara. "Send word that I was lightly wounded. Cancel tomorrow's court session. Let the nobles gossip." Mara bowed. "And the cat?" Cornelia looked at me. "He comes with me from now on." I was too tired to complain. Also, that sounded like more fish access. "So fine." Mara left, and the room became quiet. Cornelia looked at me for a long moment. "You pulled my cloak." I meowed weakly. "Yes, you are welcome. You knew." I did not answer. Because again, cat. She reached out and scratched under my chin. "You strange little thing." I should have pushed her hand away. I was a grown man inside. I had dignity. I had once filed taxes. Instead, I leaned into it. Pathetic. But after nearly freezing my soul to slow her curse, I felt I deserved a chin scratch. Cornelia's voice dropped. "When I was a child, my father told me never to trust anything soft. Soft things break. Soft things can be used against you." Her fingers moved gently through my fur. He was wrong. I looked up. Her eyes were not cold now, just tired. Very tired. Then she looked away, as if she regretted saying anything. I did not know what to do with that, so I did the only thing this body knew. I curled up against her side. She froze. Then her hand rested lightly on my back. Neither of us moved for a while, and that should have been the end of the night. But I could not sleep. Not after the arrow. Not after the system. Not after Varen's fake smile. The palace was quiet, but not peaceful. Somewhere outside, guards whispered, boots moved down the halls. Rain tapped against the broken window, now covered by a black cloth screen. Cornelia had finally fallen asleep. Her face looked younger like this, less like a terrifying queen, more like someone who had been forced to carry a kingdom too early and never got to put it down. I slipped out from under her hand, careful, silent. For once, being a cat was useful. I landed on the floor and padded toward the door. 2 guards stood outside. They would never let a person leave. But cats do not use doors. I found a narrow gap behind a shelf, slipped into the wall space, and entered a small servant passage. Dust tickled my nose. Old magic hummed in the stones. And there, faint but clear, was the smell of the arrow. Bitter smoke, wet iron, rotten flowers. I followed it. The passage twisted behind the queen's chamber and opened into a high corridor near the western tower. The scent grew stronger. I moved along the wall, staying in shadows. 2 guards passed below. I froze on a beam above them. Did you hear? One whispered. The queen was hit. Barely, the other said. They say she walked it off. Of course she did. She is the demon queen. Their voices held awe, which meant the rumor was working. Nobody knew how bad it was though. I kept moving. At the end of the corridor was a storage room. The door was closed, but not fully latched. Someone had left in a hurry. How careless. Villains never respected basic office procedure. I pushed inside. The room was filled with old curtains, broken chairs, cracked statues, and dusty boxes. The scent of the arrow was everywhere. This was where the assassin had waited. I climbed onto a crate. There were scratches on the windowsill, deep and fresh. A small piece of black feather was stuck in a crack. I sniffed it. Not bird. Cloak. The assassin had worn a feathered cloak. I touched it with one paw. The system flashed again. Trace detected. Holy Shadow Raven Mantle. Owner. Unknown. Linked faction. High Priest Alaric. High Priest Alaric. So the Holy Kingdom's top priest was involved. Lovely. We had a demon traitor, a human prince, and a holy priest sending assassins through palace windows, all before breakfast. I was starting to miss my old office. At least the printer only betrayed me emotionally. I grabbed the feather in my teeth and turned to leave. Then voices came from the hall. I froze. The storage room door opened wider. Duke Veron stepped inside. Behind him came a hooded figure in dark, wet clothes. I dove behind a broken statue, feather still in my mouth. Veron closed the door. His fake smile was gone. Now he just looked angry. You missed, he said. The hooded figure pulled back their hood. It was a woman with gray skin, white hair, and black marks around her eyes. A demon. Not human. So the assassin was from inside the kingdom after all. Her voice was flat. The cat pulled her cloak. Veron stared. The cat. Yes, the woman replied. Veron looked at her and said, the queen's little stray cat ruined an abyssbane arrow shot? The assassin said nothing. Veron rubbed his forehead like a manager hearing the worst update of his life. I understood that pain. Almost felt bad for him. Then he slapped the assassin across the face. You had one task. The queen is wounded, she said. The curse entered her body. Even if she lives, she cannot fight at full power. Veron took a slow breath. That may be enough. He walked toward the window and looked out at the rain. Prince Cedric will attack sooner than planned. If Cornelia leads the army while weakened, she dies on the field. If she hides, the nobles lose faith. Either way, the throne cracks. My claws dug into the floor, so that was the plan. Wound her, force a war, break her in public. Then what? Let Veron take over as the loyal noble who saved the kingdom. The assassin asked, what about the cat? Veron's silence was sharp. Then he said, kill it. My ears flattened. Excuse you. It is not normal, the assassin said. All the more reason. Cornelia has become attached. Remove it, and she becomes unstable. Now I was not just a cat. I was emotional damage. Veron turned back. Tonight, the queen will guard it closely. Wait until tomorrow. The palace will hold a loyalty assembly in the lower hall. Cornelia will appear to prove she is unharmed. In the crowd, release the blood mice. The cat will chase them by instinct. Once it leaves her side, take it. Blood mice? That sounded disgusting. Also, rude assumption. I was not going to lose my brain over mice. Probably. Maybe. We would see. The assassin bowed, and if the cat does not leave, Veron smiled again, then kill it in front of her. My tail went stiff. The feather in my mouth tasted bitter. I'd only been in this world a few days, and someone had already scheduled my public execution. Honestly, my calendar was filling up fast. Veron moved toward the door. I backed deeper behind the statue. My paw touched a loose stone, barely a sound, but the assassin heard it. Her head snapped toward me. I did not breathe. Her black eyes narrowed. Slowly, she drew a thin dagger. Veron paused. What is it? The assassin stepped closer. I needed a plan. Sadly, I was a cat hiding behind a statue while holding evidence in my mouth. My options were limited to running, biting, or becoming a decorative rug. The assassin came closer. Her dagger lifted. Then a rat darted out from behind a box on the other side of the room. The assassin turned and threw the dagger. The rat died instantly. I used that half second like my life depended on it, because it did. I shot out from behind the statue, sprinted under Veron's robe, and sank my teeth into his ankle. Veron screamed, a full, shocked, undignified scream. He kicked wildly. I rolled away, still gripping the feather, and bolted through the open door. Catch it. Veron shouted. The assassin lunged. I flew down the corridor like a furry shadow. Behind me, Boots pounded. A knife struck the wall near my head. Nope. Very nope. I turned sharply into the servant passage, slipped through a gap too small for a person, and kept running. The assassin crashed into the wall behind me with a curse. Advantage, cat. I raced through the narrow passage, down a slope, across a beam, and into another wall tunnel. Voices echoed outside. Find that cat. That cat bit Duke Varen. Why would it bite him? Maybe because it has taste. I did not know who said that, but I liked them. I finally reached Cornelia's chamber. The door was guarded, so I took the wall gap again and tumbled out behind the shelf. Cornelia was awake. Of course she was. She sat on the bed with a sword across her lap, pale but alert. The moment she saw me, her eyes sharpened. I staggered toward her and dropped the black feather onto the blanket. Then I collapsed like a tragic hero. A very small tragic hero. Cornelia picked up the feather. The system did not show for her, obviously, but she understood enough. Her face turned cold in a way I had not seen before. Not angry, but worse. She was focused. This is from a holy shadow raven mantle, she said. I lifted my head. So she knew. Lady Mara entered a moment later, breathless. Your Majesty, there is a disturbance in the western tower. Duke Varen claims the cat attacked him. Cornelia looked at me. I blinked slowly. Yes, and I would do it again. Mara noticed the feather in Cornelia's hand. Her face went still. Where did that come from? Cornelia's fingers closed around it. Our little stray found the assassin's nest. Mara stared at me. Then she bowed her head very slightly. Respect. Finally, Cornelia looked toward the door. Summon the council at dawn. Mara's eyes widened. In your condition? Yes, Cornelia replied. But the curse. Cornelia interrupted Mara and said, it will be hidden. Mara looked like she wanted to argue. She did not. Cornelia turned to me, and Milo will attend. I perked up. Milo? She had named me, without asking. Rude. Also, somehow, I liked it. Mara hesitated. Your Majesty, if Vera knows the cat found evidence, he may target him. He already has, Cornelia said. I stared. How did she know? Cornelia lifted one eyebrow at me. You smell like Varen's blood. Cornelia reached down and touched the top of my head. Then tomorrow we let him try. I did not like that. No sane person likes being bait. But as I watched her pale face and the sealed wound under her shoulder cloth, I knew one thing for sure. Varen wanted to break her in public. Fine. Tomorrow we would make sure the public watched him break first. Morning came too fast. The lower hall filled with nobles, commanders, servants, and spies pretending not to be spies. Everyone wanted to see if the demon queen was truly wounded. Cornelia entered wearing black armor with a high collar that hid the curse marks on her neck. Her face was calm. Her steps were steady. Nobody would know every step hurt. I knew. I sat on her shoulder, tail curled around her neck like I belonged there. Duke Varen stood near the front with a bandage around his ankle. When he saw me, his smile twitched. I gave him the slowest blink I could manage. Yes, Ankle Man. I remember you. Cornelia reached the dais. The room bowed. She lifted one hand. Last night an assassin entered my palace. Whispers spread. Cornelia's voice cut through them. The attacker failed. More whispers. Duke Varen stepped forward with perfect timing. Your Majesty, all loyal nobles are relieved by your safety. However, the palace barriers were breached. We must consider the possibility that someone close to you has become a danger. His eyes moved to me. Ah, here we go. A strange creature enters the palace. Varen continued. Soon after, poison touches your table, and an assassin reaches your private chamber. I fear this cat may be a cursed familiar sent to weaken you. The hall erupted. Some nobles looked at me with fear. Others looked excited. Because nobles enjoy drama the way cats enjoy boxes. Lady Mara's hand went to her blade. Cornelia did not move. Varen bowed deeply. For your safety, Your Majesty, I request the creature be tested publicly. Me being tested was obvious, a public trap. Cornelia looked down at him. What test do you suggest? Varen smiled. A simple loyalty test. Release blood mice blessed by holy magic. If the creature is corrupted, it will chase them and reveal its nature. I stared at him. So that was his genius plan. Use magic mice to make me act like an animal in front of everyone. Then kill me. Honestly. Insulting. Cornelia's voice stayed calm. Very well. Excuse me? I said to myself. Very well. I turned to stare at her. She did not look at me. Oh, she had a plan. I hoped. A servant brought in a silver cage covered by a white cloth. Inside, tiny claws scratched against metal. The smell hit me before the cloth came off. It smelled like blood, magic, and fear. The servant removed the cover. Inside were 6 red-eyed mice with glowing white symbols burned into their fur. The moment I saw them, something sharp woke up inside me. My paws tensed. My eyes locked on the cage. My brain said no. My body said chase. So that was the trick. They were not normal mice. They pulled at instinct. The holy magic was not meant to reveal corruption. It was meant to force a reaction. I dug my claws into Cornelia's shoulder armor. She felt it. Her hand rose and touched my back once. Steady. The cage opened. The mice shot across the floor. The hall gasped. Every nerve in my body screamed. Chase. Catch. Bite. I trembled. Varen watched with bright, hungry eyes. The assassin from last night stood in the crowd wearing a servant's hood, one hand hidden in her sleeve. There I saw her. She was waiting for me to jump down. The mice scattered near the dais. One ran right below Cornelia's boot. Another darted toward a side pillar. A third ran toward Varen. My body nearly launched after them. But I was not just a cat. I was a man who had survived terrible bosses, fake deadlines, unpaid overtime, and office birthday parties. I knew how to resist stupid traps. Mostly. With every bit of will I had, I did not chase the mice. Instead, I jumped straight toward Duke Varen. The hall screamed. Varen's eyes widened. He had expected animal instinct. He forgot about spite. I landed on his chest, climbed his fancy robe like a demon squirrel, and slapped the silver brooch at his collar. It snapped loose and fell to the floor. The brooch cracked open. A folded note slipped out. The hall went silent. Lady Mara moved first. She picked up the note and opened it. Her face changed. Cornelia looked down from the dais. Read it. Mara's voice rang through the hall. Once the queen is wounded, force her to march through Ravencut Canyon. The supply road will be open. Payment will be delivered after Prince Cedric takes the western gate. Every face turned to Duke Varen. His smile was gone. The blood mice kept running around the hall, forgotten by everyone except my very stressed cat brain. Cornelia stepped down from the dais. Slowly, calmly, terrifyingly. Duke Varen, she said, would you like to explain why a letter from the Holy Prince was hidden against your heart? Varen's face twitched. Then he smiled. Not the fake polite smile from before. A desperate one. Your Majesty, this is a trick. That beast planted it. I sat on his shoulder and meowed. Yes, obviously. I wrote a military betrayal letter with my tiny paws and hid it in your brooch. Very believable. Some of the nobles exchanged looks. Even they were not that stupid. Varen's hand moved toward his sleeve. The assassin in the crowd moved too. Cornelia noticed. So did I. But before anyone could stop them, Varen shouted, now. The assassin threw back her hood. Dozens of hidden symbols lit up across the lower hall. The blood mice exploded into black mist. The mist rose like smoke, forming a glowing cage around Cornelia, me, Varen, and half the front row of nobles. Lady Mara slammed into the barrier and was thrown back. Cornelia's face turned pale. The curse in her shoulder flared black under her armor. Varen laughed. You should have died quietly, Your Majesty. The black mist tightened around us. Cornelia lifted her sword, but her wounded arm shook. The assassin drew a curved blade and smiled at me. And this time she said, the cat dies first. Then the glowing words appeared in front of my eyes. Emergency trait activated. Hidden bloodline partially unlocked. Abyssal star beast form. 3 seconds available. 3 seconds. That was all I had, and the assassin was already swinging her blade at my neck. The glowing words in front of my eyes gave me exactly 3 seconds to not become a royal fur scarf. I did not have time to panic, so my body chose violence for me. The world suddenly stretched. The assassin's blade slowed until I could see every drop of gray mist sliding along the edge. Duke Varen's smile froze halfway across his face. Cornelia's hand tightened around her sword, but the curse in her shoulder dragged her movement down like chains. Then something inside me opened. It felt like a locked door breaking off its hinges. My tiny paws hit the floor, only they were not tiny anymore. Black light burst from my body. The hall shook. The black mist around us bent inward, like it had suddenly remembered it was messing with the wrong animal. For 3 seconds, I was no longer a cat. I was a shadow with claws. My body grew taller than a horse. My fur became a sky full of black stars. Golden light burned from my eyes. A long tail swept behind me like a whip made of night. Every person inside the blood cage stopped breathing. The assassin's blade reached my neck. I opened my jaws and bit it in half. The snap echoed through the hall. The assassin's eyes went wide. That was the correct reaction. I swung one paw. Not hard. Just enough. The assassin flew backward like someone had fired her from a cannon. She slammed into the red barrier, bounced off it, and crashed across the floor in a very undignified heap. 1 second gone. Duke Varen stumbled back. What are you? I would have loved to answer. Something cool, maybe. Something like, your unpaid consequences. Sadly, I still could not talk. So I roared. The sound shook dust from the ceiling. The nobles screamed. Several fell to their knees. One fainted directly into a plate of fruit. Wrong time, but excellent aim. 2 seconds gone. The black mist cage tightened around Cornelia. It reacted to her cursed wound and was crawling toward her. Her face turned pale, but she lifted her sword anyway. I lunged toward the glowing symbols on the floor. They were the source of the cage. The blood mice had not exploded randomly. Their bodies had carried holy marks, and those marks had formed a trapped circle. I slammed my claws into the first symbol. It shattered and the black cage flickered. 3 seconds almost gone. I needed one more hit. My body was already shrinking. My giant paw blurred back toward a tiny paw. My teeth shrank. My strength vanished like money on payday. No, not yet. I threw myself at the second symbol with everything I had left. My claw touched it. Crack. The barrier broke. Then I became a cat again in midair, which meant instead of landing like a terrifying shadow beast, I flopped onto the floor like a dropped sock. The hall went silent. For one long moment, nobody moved. Then I lifted my head, tried to look graceful, and sneezed. Lady Mara recovered first. She shot through the broken barrier, blade flashing. The assassin tried to stand, but Mara kicked her in the chest and pinned her to the floor. General Drogon tackled Duke Varen so hard the polished stone cracked under them. Very satisfying. Cornelia stayed standing for about 2 more seconds. Then her knees buckled. I forgot my dramatic entrance and ran to her. She caught herself on her sword, breathing hard. Black veins had crawled above the collar of her armor. The curse had flared again during the trap. Lady Mara looked back, panic flashing across her face. Healers, she screamed. The old healer rushed in with 2 assistants, merely slipping on the black mist residue. They reached for Cornelia, then stopped because everyone remembered the curse could spread by touch. I jumped onto Cornelia's shoulder before anyone could stop me. The curse burned cold against my fur. The glowing words flashed again. Bond target stabilizing. Curse spread slowed. Abyssal star beast form locked. Recovery required. Wonderful. So I had used my secret monster form for 3 seconds, and now needed a nap. Cornelia's hand rose and touched my back. Her fingers trembled. Only a little, but I noticed. Milo, she said softly. The hall heard it. The Demon Queen, feared ruler of the Abyssal Realm, had just said my name like I was the only thing keeping her standing. That was bad. Not emotionally bad. That part made my chest feel weird. Politically bad. Because now every noble in the hall knew I mattered to her. And Varen, who was being held down by General Drogon, knew it too. He lifted his head, blood at the corner of his mouth, and laughed. You see, he shouted, that thing is no cat. It is an abyss monster wearing a pet skin. Nobody answered. He looked around desperately. Are you fools blind? The queen brought an unknown beast into the palace. It sits on her shoulder, whispers into her plans, and now it transforms in the royal hall. How long before it controls her completely? A few nobles shifted. Fear spreads faster than truth. Cornelia raised her head. The room fell quiet. The curse had weakened her, but when she looked at them, every noble remembered she was still Cornelia Nocturne. Duke Varen, she said, you hid a letter from Prince Cedric against your own chest. You brought a holy assassin into my palace. You triggered a trap in front of the court. Varen replied. A planted letter means nothing. Cornelia looked at Lady Mara. Mara pressed her blade against the assassin's throat. Speak, Cornelia ordered. The assassin smiled through her teeth. I serve no demon queen. And the assassin's smile widened. I serve the true future of this kingdom. Varen's face changed. Only for a second, but everyone saw it. Cornelia's eyes narrowed. Meaning? The assassin looked at Varen. Then she bit down. Lady Mara cursed and forced her jaw open. But it was too late. She eliminated herself. Poison tooth. Classic villain backup plan. I hated competent enemies. The hall erupted again. Cornelia lifted one hand, and the noise died. Duke Varen will be taken to the obsidian cell, she said. Seal his manor. Arrest his personal guards. Search every letter, coin chest, and shrine. General Drogon hauled Varen up. Varen no longer looked scared. That was the strange part. He should have been begging, sweating, crying, or offering some terrible excuse. Instead, his smile returned. That fake, polished, rotten smile. You think this ends with me? Cornelia stepped closer. No, I think it starts with you. Varen laughed under his breath. The western gate will fall by sunset. The words dropped into the room like a stone into deep water. Lady Mara went still. General Drogon tightened his grip. Cornelia's face stayed calm, but I felt her shoulder tense under my paws. The western gate, the same gate tied to the supply road. The same border where the Holy Army had hidden troops. If Varen's plan was already moving, then arresting him was only one piece. The real attack had begun. Cornelia turned to Mara. Send riders. Mara bowed and ran. Varen smiled wider. Too late. I wanted to bite his other ankle. Maybe both. Cornelia leaned closer to him. You should pray it is not. Varen's eyes flicked to me. Oh, I am praying. Just not to you. Before anyone could ask what that meant, the bells started ringing. Not one bell. All of them. The sound rolled through the palace like thunder. Low and urgent. The nobles turned toward the windows. Guards shouted in the halls. Somewhere outside, horns answered. War horns. A messenger burst into the lower hall, soaked with rain and mud. He dropped to one knee so hard I heard bone hit stone. Your Majesty, emergency report from the western border. Cornelia did not move. Speak. The messenger lifted his head. The Holy Army has crossed the Black River. Prince Cedric leads the vanguard himself. Our watchtowers are burning. The room exploded into fear. Someone shouted that the western gate was too strong to fall. Someone else shouted that the supplies had not arrived. General Drogon roared for silence. The messenger's voice shook. There is more. Cornelia's eyes sharpened. The western gate commander opened the outer wall. For once, even General Drogon looked stunned. A commander had betrayed them. Not just a noble at court, not just a hidden assassin. The border itself had been sold. Varen laughed loudly. The sound bounced off the stone walls. There it is. Cornelia turned slowly toward him. He looked pleased with himself now, as if chains were only jewelry. You can arrest me, he said. You can search my house. You can parade your monster cat around like a miracle. But the gate is open, Your Majesty. Cedric will march through before your army can form. The nobles panicked harder. And honestly, I understood. A palace full of traitors was bad. A border gate open to an enemy army was worse. A wounded queen who could barely stand was worse than that. Cornelia closed her eyes for one breath. When she opened them, the queen was back. Not the tired woman in her room. Not the lonely ruler who fed me fish. The demon queen. Drogon, she said. The bullhorn general slammed a fist to his chest. Your Majesty, he replied. Gather the central army. You will not march through Ravencut Canyon. You will take the Old Iron Road and hold the second ridge. Drogon blinked. The Old Iron Road is narrow and slow. It is also hidden from the western gate's view. His eyes widened as he understood. Yes, Your Majesty. Mara will take shadow riders and secure the supply camp. If Cedric's fast troops reach it, burn the outer stores yourself and retreat. Do not let them capture our grain. A commander near the table stepped forward. And you, Your Majesty? Cornelia's face was pale, but her voice did not shake. I will go to the western gate. Absolutely not. I smack her shoulder with my paw. She ignored me. Rude. The old healer stepped forward in horror. Your Majesty, you cannot ride with a Bisbane still in your body. Cornelia looked at him. Can I stand? Yes. But, he said. Can I hold a sword? Cornelia asked. For now, but, the healer replied. Cornelia cut him off and said, then I can ride. I wanted to scream. Actually, I did scream. A loud, angry meow echoed across the lower hall. Everyone looked at me. Cornelia finally turned her head. Milo. I glared at her. Do not Milo me, woman. You are cursed, bleeding, and running on stubbornness. She lowered her voice, so only I could hear. If Cedric takes the gate, thousands die. That shut me up, because she was right. Of course she was right. That was the annoying thing about good leaders. They made terrible personal choices for solid public reasons. I pressed my head against her neck, where the curse marks hid under her collar. The cold pulse was stronger now. She had maybe 3 days before the arrowhead had to come out. Maybe less if she kept doing things like attending court, breaking traitor traps, and riding into battle like a lunatic. Cornelia looked at the nobles. Anyone who wishes to prove loyalty may do so now. Anyone who wishes to hide may remember that I return with a very good memory. That worked. Nobles straightened fast. Fear was useful when pointed in the right direction. Varen was dragged away laughing. As he passed me, he whispered. The high priest already saw the beast awaken. My blood went cold. His eyes shone with ugly victory. Alaric will come for it. Then General Drogon shoved him forward, and the guards hauled him out. The hall emptied into chaos. Orders flew. Armor clanged. Messengers sprinted. The palace changed from snake pit to war machine in less than 10 minutes. I stayed on Cornelia's shoulder as she walked back toward her chamber. Her steps were steady in public. The moment the door closed behind us, she grabbed the desk. I jumped down as she leaned heavily against it. The old healer followed, angry in the careful way people get when yelling at royalty is illegal. You cannot go, he said. Cornelia pulled off her gauntlet. I do not recall asking. Then I am telling you. If you force your magic while Abyssbane is active, it will dig deeper. The arrowhead is already near your core. I will not use magic, Cornelia replied. The healer stared at her and said, You are the demon queen. Cornelia looked at him and said, I also own a sword. He looked ready to pass out. I jumped onto the desk and pawed at the bandage on her shoulder. She looked at me. You agree with him? I meowed. Obviously. She reached for a clean cloak. You are both free to complain after the gate is secured. This woman was impossible. The healer took a small black bottle from his case. If you insist on riding, drink this. It will numb pain and slow the curse for 6 hours. Cornelia took it. The healer did not let go. After that, the curse will rush back harder. Cornelia held his gaze. I understand. She drank it. I watched her face. Not even a grimace. I sniffed the empty bottle. It smelled like burnt herbs and bad decisions. Outside the palace, the war courtyard roared with movement. Demon soldiers formed ranks. Giant wolf-like mounts snarled as handlers strapped armor onto them. Winged scouts leapt from towers into the stormy sky, and waiting near the stairs was a huge black war beast. It looked like a horse had made several poor life choices with a dragon. It had dark scales, burning blue eyes, and claws instead of hooves. Cornelia mounted it easily. I climbed up behind her and settled against the back of her neck. The beast turned one glowing eye toward me. I stared back. Do not start. It snorted smoke, then faced forward. General Drogon rode up beside us on a massive horned creature. Central Army will follow the old iron road. Cornelia nodded. Send no banners. Cedric must think we are panicking. Drogon grinned, showing large teeth. Finally, a fun order. Fun was one word for it. Cornelia lifted her hand. The palace gates opened. The demon queen rode out into the rain with a cursed arrowhead in her shoulder and a reincarnated cat on her back. I would have called it ridiculous. But by then, ridiculous had become my daily routine. We rode hard. The capital blurred behind us. Black stone streets gave way to muddy roads. Villages flashed past, their windows glowing dim in the storm. People came out when they heard the riders, then fell to their knees when they saw Cornelia. Not from fear, at least, not only fear. Many looked relieved. That surprised me. In human stories, she was the monster, the evil queen, the final boss, the shadow waiting to eat the world. But here, demon children waved from doorways. Old women touched their foreheads to the ground, and soldiers saluted her. They trusted her. That made the Holy Kingdom's version of the story feel even uglier. Cornelia did not slow, but I felt her hand tighten on the reins every time we passed civilians. She was not riding for a throne. She was riding for them. The road climbed into the western hills. Rain turned the ground slick. The sky darkened even though it was still afternoon. Far ahead, smoke rose in thick black columns. The western gate was burning. Cornelia's mount reached a ridge overlooking the battlefield. I saw it all at once. The western gate was built between two mountains, a massive black wall with iron teeth. One outer section stood open, just like the messenger said. Holy soldiers in white and gold poured through it like ants through a cracked jar. Demon defenders fought desperately in the inner yard. Above them, banners burned. At the front of the Holy Army rode Prince Cedric. Even from far away, I hated him. He wore shining armor, a white cape, and a gold crown shaped like sun rays. His blonde hair somehow stayed perfect in the rain, which was already suspicious. Beside him floated a golden crystal staff carried by priests. A loud magic voice rolled across the battlefield. People of the demon realm, lay down your weapons. Your tyrant queen hides in her palace while you die for her pride. Cornelia's eyes went cold. Oh, he was one of those. A speech guy. Prince Cedric lifted his sword. The Holy Kingdom brings mercy. Surrender, and you may live. Resist, and be cleansed. I wanted to throw up. General Drogon, who had ridden with a small advance group, growled beside us. Give the word, he said. Cornelia studied the battlefield. Her soldiers were outnumbered at the open gate. Cedric's troops had entered too far. Confident the queen was still weak or absent, they had not secured the ridge paths, which meant they had walked into a bull, a very shiny, arrogant bull. Cornelia pointed. Drogon, Take your riders down the left slope. Hit their priests first. Without holy shields, their front line breaks. Drogon grinned, and you? Cornelia's gaze locked on Prince Cedric. I will answer his speech. Oh no, I knew that tone. That was the tone of a woman about to do something iconic and medically stupid. She urged her mount forward. We descended the ridge alone. At first, nobody noticed. Then one holy soldier looked up. His face went white, and then another soldier followed his gaze. Then another. The whisper spread faster than the rain. The Demon Queen. Cornelia rode straight toward the open gate with no army behind her. Just one black warbeast, one cursed queen, and one furious cat. Cedric's speech faltered. His magic voice cracked for half a second. Cornelia stopped just outside bow range. The battlefield quieted in waves. Cedric recovered quickly. He smiled like a man who had practiced this exact moment in the mirror. Queen Cornelia, he called. You honor us by crawling out of your den. Crawling? I dug my claws into the saddle. Cornelia's voice carried without magic, cold and clear. Prince Cedric, you honor me by entering my kingdom through a gate opened by a traitor. Most thieves prefer windows. A few demon soldiers laughed. Cedric's smile tightened. Your own commander surrendered the gate. Even your people know your rule is ending. Cornelia looked at the burning wall. My commander was bought. Cedric raised his sword. Bought? No, freed. He chose the light. I meowed loudly, because that was nonsense. Cedric's eyes flicked to me, and there it was. Recognition. Not surprise, so he knew about me. Varen had told the truth. High Priest Alaric had seen something. Maybe through the assassin. Maybe through the trap. Either way, the holy side knew the queen's cat was not normal. Cedric smiled wider. And there is the creature. The abyss beast hiding in your arms. The holy soldiers murmured. Cornelia's hand moved slightly toward me. Cedric noticed. Your Majesty, I almost pity you. So lonely that you cling to a monster and call it a pet. Something sharp passed through Cornelia's face. Only for a moment, but I saw it. I pressed my body against her neck. Do not listen. He is a speech guy. Speech guys are 90% hair and 10% empty noise. Cedric lifted his sword higher. Hand over the beast. Surrender the western gate, and I will spare your soldiers. So they wanted me. Not just dead, but captured. But why? What was an abyssal star beast, and why did humans care so much? Cornelia answered at once. No, Cedric laughed. You would sacrifice your army for a cat? Cornelia's eyes burned red. No, I would sacrifice your army for insulting him. A chill rolled through me. Okay, that was a little cool. Cedric's face hardened. Then die with your monster. He dropped his sword. Holy archers raised their bows. Hundreds of glowing arrows aimed at us. Cornelia's wounded shoulder pulsed under the armor. I felt the curse wake like a sleeping snake. She could not block all of them. Not without magic or making the curse worse. My system stayed silent. Just me, tiny paws, and several hundred arrows. Very rude. Cedric shouted. Fire! The arrows launched. Cornelia reached for her sword, and from the left ridge, General Drogon's war cry split the battlefield. The demon riders crashed down the slope like an avalanche. They hit the holy priest line before the arrows landed. Golden shields flickered and broke. Half the arrows lost their glow mid-air. Cornelia swung her sword, cutting through the ones still aimed at us. 3 slipped past her guard. 1 struck her cloak. 1 grazed her leg. The 3rd came for my face, but I ducked. The arrow sliced off 3 whiskers. 3. My whiskers. Something inside me went very still. Cedric had tried to capture me. His priest had tried to poison Cornelia. His army had burned the gate. And now he had damaged my face. Unforgivable. I leapt from the saddle. Cornelia shouted, Milo. Too late. I hit the muddy ground and ran. Not toward Cedric. I was not stupid. I ran toward the fallen golden arrows. Holy magic still sparked inside them. My new curse sense tingled as I passed. 1 arrow glowed brighter than the rest, connected to the staff near Cedric's priests. The staff was controlling the arrow blessing. Break the staff. Break the holy advantage. I sprinted through chaos. A holy soldier tried to stab me. I slipped under his boot and bit his ankle. Ankle biting was becoming my signature move. He yelled and fell into another soldier. A demon defender saw me and shouted, Protect the queen's cat. Suddenly, 3 demon soldiers charged after me, smashing anyone who got close. Good. I had staff now. I crossed the muddy field, dodging boots, hooves, arrows, and 1 flaming wheel that honestly seemed unnecessary. The golden staff floated beside 3 priests near Cedric's position. It was taller than a man and topped with a sun-shaped crystal. A priest spotted me. The beast. All 3 turned. This was bad. They began chanting. A ring of golden light formed around me. It tightened fast, burning the mud and cutting off escape. I hissed and backed up. The priest smiled and 1 lifted his silver chain. High Priest Alaric wants it alive. Again with Alaric. This man was not even here and was already annoying. The chain shot toward me. I jumped onto a fallen shield. The chain hit the mud where I had been. I bounced from the shield to a soldier's back, then from his shoulder onto the floating staff. The priest screamed. I wrapped all 4 paws around the staff like the world's angriest scarf and bit the sun crystal. My teeth felt like they were biting lightning, but the crystal cracked and the battlefield flashed gold. Every blessed arrow in the sky went dark. The holy shields around Cedric's front line vanished. Demon soldiers roared, so I bit harder. The crystal shattered and the staff fell from the air. So did I. Before I hit the ground, a black blur swept past. Cornelia caught me with 1 hand. She had ridden straight through the battlefield to reach me. Her face was furious. Not at me. Well, maybe a little at me. Mostly at everyone else. You reckless little fool, she said. I meowed with my burnt tongue sticking out. Worth it. Behind us, The holy army began to buckle. Drogon's riders had crushed the priest line. Demon defenders pushed back at the gate. The open wall became a trap for Cedric's own forces. Cedric saw it too, his perfect face twisted. "Fall back to the outer field," he shouted. But retreating through a half-broken gate while demons attacked from the ridge was not easy. This was no longer an invasion. This was a public embarrassment with swords. Cornelia rode forward. Cedric turned his horse toward her. For a moment, the battlefield seemed to make space around them. Prince and queen, white armor and black armor, loud hero and tired ruler. Cedric raised his sword. "You think this victory matters? The Holy Kingdom has already marked your beast. Alaric will tear it from you." Cornelia's eyes narrowed. "Many have tried taking things from me." Cedric smiled. "And did they fail?" For the first time, Cornelia did not answer right away. That silence told me something.